The great crystal halls of Zentara Prime shimmered with worried light. 7 different alien species sat around the massive council table, but none of them looked happy. Ambassador Veltar from the Crystal People stood up slowly. His body was made of living glass that normally glowed bright blue, but today it flickered with dark purple waves of fear. "Friends of the Council," Veltar began, his voice coming through the translation machines that let all the different aliens talk to each other. "I bring terrible news from our outer colonies. The Void Hunters have returned." A shocked silence filled the room. Even the air seemed to stop moving. High Chancellor Mordic, who was made of pure energy and looked like a walking star, began to pulse with red light. The flower-like Dr. Kexalia from the Plant Union let out a soft whistle of fear. Her petals closed tight around her face. "That cannot be true," said Commander Zorthok from the Hive Mind People. His bug-like eyes moved quickly as he spoke. Sensors would have detected them months ago. Eltar's crystal body grew darker. They came from the dead zones. It's places where they destroyed everything 3,000 years ago. Our scout ships barely escaped to tell us. He touched a control panel and a huge screen appeared in the center of the room. The screen showed space. But it was wrong. Instead of stars and planets, there were only empty black areas getting bigger and bigger. Like someone was erasing the universe with a giant eraser. "They are moving toward the core worlds," Veltar continued. "At their current speed, they will reach the inner systems in less than 2 years. Maybe less." Dr. Kexalia's flower head opened slightly. "How many ships did they have this time?" "Our scouts counted over 500 mother ships before they had to run. Each mother ship can make thousands of smaller hunter ships. They are eating the energy from entire star systems to make more of themselves." The council members looked at each other with growing panic. The last time the Void Hunters had come, it took all 7 species working together to barely stop them. Even then, they had lost more than half their worlds and billions of lives. That was 3,000 years ago, and they still had not fully recovered. Mordic pulsed faster. "What about our defense fleets?" "We have maybe 200 ships total across all our worlds," answered General Dickmer from the Stone People. His rock-like body was covered with cracks that showed how worried he was. "The Hunters destroyed most of our military ships last time. We focused on rebuilding our cities and farms, not weapons. Because we are peaceful people," added Dr. Kexalia, "we do not like war. We have spent 3,000 years learning to solve problems with words, not violence." "The Void Hunters do not care about our words." Zorthok clicked his mandibles together nervously. "They do not negotiate. They do not trade. They only consume and destroy. They are not even really alive. They are more like a disease that spreads through space." The room fell quiet again. Each species representative thought about their home, worlds, their families, their entire civilizations. All of it would be gone if the Void Hunters could not be stopped. "There must be something we can do," whispered Ambassador Lyra from the Gas Cloud People. Her misty form swirled with desperate hope. "Some weapon we have not tried? Some ally we have not asked for help?" Veltar's crystal body flickered. "There is one possibility, but you will not like it." All eyes turned to him. Even the translation machines seemed to hum with tension. "The Forbidden Sector," Veltar said quietly. "Quadrant 7 Delta." The reaction was immediate. Dr. Kexalia's petals snapped shut completely. Mordic's light turned bright red with alarm. "Ash!" Zorthok made a sound like breaking glass. "You cannot be serious," Mordic said, his energy form crackling. "That sector is quarantined for good reason. The creatures there are worse than anything we have ever encountered." "What is in that sector?" asked the newest council member, Ambassador Fryn from the Water People. Her liquid body rippled with curiosity. General Vekmer's rocky face looked grim. "A death world. Planet designation Earth. It orbits a yellow star and has the most dangerous conditions we have ever recorded for a world with intelligent life." "How dangerous?" Fryn asked. Dr. Kexalia opened her petals just enough to speak. "The gravity is twice what most of us can survive. The atmosphere has poisonous oxygen that would burn our lungs. The weather creates massive storms that can destroy entire cities. The land moves and shakes, splitting open without warning. The water falls from the sky like tiny bullets. But that is just the planet itself, added Zorthok. The life forms are even worse. Everything there tries to kill everything else. The plants make poison. The animals have claws and teeth designed for tearing flesh. Even the tiny invisible life forms can kill in days. Veltar nodded slowly. Somehow intelligent life evolved there anyway. A species that calls itself humans. They not only survived on this nightmare world, but they became its dominant species. What kind of monsters are they? Frinn's watery form shuddered. Our long-range scans show they are carbon-based bipeds, similar to several of our species in basic structure, General Dekmer reported, but they are incredibly dense and strong. Their bones are thick like stone. Their muscles are built for surviving in high gravity and fighting off predators. More concerning, Dr. Kexalia added, is their behavior. They fight constantly, not just with other species, but with each other. They have weapons that can destroy entire cities. They have split their own planet into territories and fight wars over resources. Mordic pulsed darker. Their entertainment shows violence. Their stories celebrate conflict. Their children play games that involve hunting and killing. By every measure we use to judge civilized behavior, they are barbaric monsters. But, Veltar said, raising his crystal hand, they are also incredibly adaptive. They survived ice ages that covered their entire planet. They survived massive rocks falling from space that killed most life on their world. They survived diseases, floods, volcanic eruptions, and attacks from every predator on their planet. And now, he continued, they have developed space travel. Primitive, but functional. They have nuclear weapons powerful enough to destroy their own world several times over. And according to our behavioral models, if properly motivated, they would be capable of extreme violence against external threats. The council sat in stunned silence. The idea of asking help from such creatures seemed insane. But as more reports came in of systems going dark along the galactic rim, they realized they might not have a choice. We would be unleashing monsters on the galaxy, Dr. Kexalia said softly. Monsters are already here, Veltar replied, pointing at the screen showing the advancing darkness of the Void Hunters. Perhaps we need different monsters to fight them. Commander Zorthok's compound eyes focused on the star charts. Even if we wanted to contact them, would they help us? What could we offer them? Survival, General, Dekmer said grimly. When the Void Hunters finish with us, they will not stop. They will consume everything, including the death world called Earth. The humans will fight them whether we ask or not. The question is whether they fight alone or with our support. Mordecai's energy form pulsed slowly as he thought. If we do this, if we bring these death world creatures into our conflict, there will be no going back. The galaxy will never be the same. The galaxy will not exist at all if we do nothing, Veltar replied. One by one, the council members realized they had no other choice. They would send a message to Earth, hoping that the monsters from the death world would be there. Salvation rather than their doom. But deep down, they all wondered if they were about to make the biggest mistake in galactic history. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Defiant, looking out at the strangest sight he had ever seen. The alien ship hung in space like a giant crystal flower. Its walls were see-through and glowed with soft blue light. Inside, he could see strange shapes moving around. 3 months had passed since the message arrived at Earth's deep space stations. Signal had come from far beyond anything humans had ever detected. It took their best computers weeks to figure out what it said. When they finally understood it, the message changed everything. The aliens were asking for help. They said terrible creatures called Void Hunters were destroying their worlds. They needed warriors to fight a war they could not win alone. They had chosen Earth because humans came from what they called a death world. Captain, said Lieutenant Lisa Chang from her station, the alien ship is sending another message. They want permission to come aboard our ship. Morrison nodded. Tell them yes, but keep all weapons ready. The past 3 months had been crazy on Earth. Scientists work day and night to understand. Alien technology. Military leaders argued about whether to trust these strange visitors. Politicians worried about what first contact would mean for humanity. In the end, they decided to meet with the aliens. If these void hunters were as dangerous, as the message claimed, Earth might be in danger too. Better to learn about the threat now than wait for it to arrive. The aliens appeared in the Defiance meeting room using some kind of transportation beam. Morrison had seen the videos of their arrival, but seeing them in person was different. His heart beat faster as he looked at the three creatures. Ambassador Veltar looked like a man made of living glass. Light moved through his body in patterns that seemed to show his emotions. Right now, those patterns looked nervous. Dr. Kexalia was even stranger. She looked like a walking flower garden. Her head was a large bloom with colorful petals. Smaller flowers grew from her arms and shoulders. She smelled like springtime. The third alien made Morrison's skin crawl. Zorthok looked like a giant insect. His black shell reflected the room's lights. 6 arms moved constantly as he talked. His huge compound eyes seemed to look everywhere at once. "Greetings, humans of Earth," Veltar said. His voice came from a small device on his chest. "We thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Come seeking help in our most desperate hour." Colonel Ryan Phillips, Earth's top military officer, sat across from the aliens. His face showed no emotion. "You're asking us to fight a war for species we just met. Why should we risk human lives for your problems?" Dr. Kexalia's petals rustled. "Because these problems will become your problems. The Void Hunters do not stop. They consume everything in their path. After they finish with our worlds, they will come for yours." "Tell us about these Void Hunters," Morrison said. "What makes them so dangerous that entire alien civilizations cannot stop them?" Zorthok's mandibles clicked together. "They are not alive as we understand life. They are more like a cosmic disease. They eat the energy from stars and planets to make more of themselves. They have no emotions, no mercy, no desire except to consume." Veltar's crystal body grew darker. 3,000 years ago they came before. We'd barely stopped them by working. Together, all 7 of our species combined our fleets. Even then, we lost more than half our worlds and billions of lives. "How did you stop them?" Phillips asked. "We contained them," Dr. Kexalia replied. "We built massive energy barriers to trap them in dead space beyond our galaxy's edge. It took everything we had. But the barriers have failed," Zorthok added. "They have grown stronger in the dead zones. Now they return with more ships than before." Morrison leaned forward. "What makes you think humans can do what your combined fleets could not?" The 3 aliens looked at each other. Their expressions, even the strange alien ones, showed uncertainty. "Your world," Veltar began carefully, "is classified by our science as a Class 12 death world. This is the highest danger rating we have ever recorded for a planet with intelligent life." "What does that mean?" Phillips asked. Dr. Kexalia's petals opened wider. "Your planet's gravity is twice what most species can survive. Your atmosphere contains oxygen, which is poisonous to many life forms. Your weather creates storms that can destroy cities. Your ground shakes and splits open. Frozen water falls from your sky. That's just weather," Morrison said. "Every planet has weather, not like yours," Zorthok clicked. "Most inhabited worlds have gentle rains and mild temperatures. Your world has hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, floods, droughts, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and ice ages." Veltar's light patterns showed amazement. "Any one of these conditions would kill most species. You have all of them, and somehow you not only survived but became your planet's dominant life form." Phillips crossed his arms. "So we're tough. That doesn't make us warriors." "But you are warriors," Dr. Kexalia said softly. "You have fought wars throughout your entire history. You developed weapons that can destroy your own world. You created armies and navies and air forces. You study strategy and tactics like we study art and music." Zorthok's eyes focused on the humans. "Most species develop space travel first, then discover how to split atoms. You developed nuclear weapons before you left your planet. You are the only species we know that achieved the power to destroy worlds before achieving the wisdom to explore them. Morrison felt uncomfortable. You make us sound like monsters. You are monsters, Veltar said quietly. But so are the Void Hunters. And sometimes it takes monsters to fight monsters. The room fell silent. Morrison looked at Phillips, who was thinking hard about what the aliens had said. What exactly are you asking us to do? Phillips finally asked. Fight with us, Zorthok replied. We will share our technology with you. Energy shields, faster than light travel, advanced weapons. In return, you help us stop the Void Hunters. Our species are not warriors, Dr. Kexalia explained. We have spent thousands of years learning to solve problems with words instead of violence. We build cities and grow gardens and create art. We do not know how to destroy our enemies. But you do, Veltar added. Your military doctrine is based on total victory. When you fight to win completely. This is what we need against the Void Hunters. Philip stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth hung blue and green in space. It looked peaceful from here, but Morrison knew better. Humans had fought countless wars on that beautiful planet. They had survived ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, and their own worst impulses. How long do we have? Phillips asked. The Void Hunters will reach the outer colonies in 18 months, Zorthak answered. The core worlds, including our capitals, will fall within 3 years if we cannot stop them. Morrison thought about Earth, about his wife and children back home, about all the humans who had no idea that cosmic predators were heading their way. If we help you, Morrison said, and we win, what happens then? Do you expect us to just go home and pretend this never happened? The three aliens looked at each other again. Morrison could tell they had not thought much about what would happen after the war. We hope, Veltar said slowly, that humans will choose to be our friends instead of our enemies. Phillips turned back to face them. And if we say no, if we decide this is not our fight, then we all die, Dr. Kexalia said simply. Us first, then you. The Void Hunters will not stop until they have consumed everything. Morrison made his decision. Colonel Phillips, I think we need to take this to Earth Command. This is bigger than first contact. This is about the survival of intelligent life in the galaxy. Phillips nodded. Agreed. Ambassador Veltar, we will. Need time to discuss this with our leaders. Can you wait while we contact Earth? Time is the one thing we do not have much of, Zorthok replied. But we will wait. We have no other choice. As the aliens left the meeting room, Morrison stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, creatures of pure destruction were heading toward everything he cared about. And somehow humanity had become the galaxy's last hope for survival. He just hoped they were up to the challenge. Admiral Susan Blake stood in the command center of the Earthship Vengeance, watching dozens of screens that showed the current state of the war. 6 months had passed since humanity agreed to help the alien species fight the Void Hunters. That short time, everything had changed. The room around her buzzed with activity. Human officers worked alongside alien advisors, sharing information and planning battles. The cooperation was awkward at first. Humans spoke too loudly for most aliens. Aliens moved too slowly for most humans. But they were learning to work together, Admiral. Status report, Blake called out to her staff. Commander Pete Rodriguez stepped forward. He was a short man with graying hair, who had spent 20 years in Earth's Navy. Now he commanded the largest war fleet humanity had ever built. We have 47 combat ships ready for battle, Rodriguez reported. Each ship uses a mix of human and alien technology. Our kinetic weapons combined with their energy shields are working better than expected. Blake nodded. The partnership had surprised everyone. Human weapons were designed to punch through armor and destroy targets completely. Alien technology focused on defense and precision. Together, they created something neither species could build alone. Dr. Helen Carter approached the Admiral. She was Earth's top expert on alien life forms and had spent months studying the Void Hunters. Her face was tired but determined. We've learned more about what we're fighting, Carter said. The Void Hunters aren't really alive, more like a disease that spreads through space. They eat energy from stars and planets, then use that energy to make copies of themselves. How many are we facing? Blake asked. Current estimates show over 800 motherships, Carter replied. Each mothership can produce thousands of smaller hunter units. They're growing stronger every day as they consume more systems. Rodriguez pulled up a star map on the main screen. Red dots showed where Void Hunter ships had been spotted. Red areas were growing larger each day, spreading toward the galaxy's center like a cancer. The aliens tried to fight them using containment strategies, Rodriguez explained. Energy nets, force fields, disruption beams. They wanted to trap the hunters or disable them, and that didn't work, Blake asked, though she already knew the answer. The hunters adapted to every containment method within hours, Carter said. They learned from each attack and became immune to it. The alien approach of non-lethal force just made the hunters stronger. Blake smiled grimly. But humans don't fight to contain, we fight to kill. Exactly, Rodriguez agreed. Our first battle at the Kelter system proved that. While alien ships tried to disable the hunters with energy dampeners, we just blew them apart with railgun slugs and fusion torpedoes. The difference in fighting styles had shocked both sides. When human ships encountered Void Hunters for the first time, they did not hesitate. Captain Danny Foster's ship, the Retribution, had fired everything it had at the nearest hunter vessel. The alien observers had watched in amazement as the hunter ship simply disintegrated under the assault. "Sir," Lieutenant Nancy Walsh called. Out from her station, "We're receiving a transmission from Captain Foster. He's approaching the Nexus system with Task Force 7. Blake walked over to the communications station. "Put him through." Captain Foster's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, his bridge crew worked frantically at their stations. Foster was young for a ship captain, but he had proven himself in 3 major battles against the hunters. Foster reported, "We've reached the outer edge of the Nexus system. Long-range sensors show heavy hunter presence. At least 50 motherships and maybe 1,000 smaller units." Blake studied the tactical display. The Nexus system was important because it contained the last major shipyard the aliens still controlled. If it fell, the combined fleet would have nowhere to repair damaged ships. "What's the status of the alien population?" Blake asked. 2 million civilians on the main planet, Foster replied. "The local defense fleet is trying to evacuate them, but they don't have enough transport ships." Blake made her decision quickly. All available ships moved to support Captain Foster. "We're going in." As the human fleet prepared to jump to the Nexus system, alien observers watched with a mixture of hope and fear. Ambassador Veltar stood beside Blake, his crystal body flickering with nervous energy. "Your species approaches war very differently than ours," Veltar said. "How do you mean?" Blake asked while checking the fleet status reports. "When we fight, we try to minimize casualties. We use precise strikes against military targets. We avoid harming civilians. We seek to end conflicts quickly with minimal damage." Blake looked at him. "And how has that worked out for you?" Veltar's light dimmed. "Not well. The hunters do not care about our rules of war. They destroy everything equally." "That's because war isn't a game with rules," Blake replied. "War is about survival. You survive, or your enemy survives. There's no middle ground." The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, racing toward the Nexus system. During the journey, Blake reviewed the battle plans with her commanders. The strategy was simple and brutal, exactly the kind of approach that made alien species nervous. "About working with humans. We hit them hard and fast," Blake explained to the assembled captains on the communication system. "No fancy tactics, no attempts to capture their ships. We destroy everything that moves and keep shooting until nothing is left." Captain Linda Parker, commanding the destroyer Hammer, raised a question. "What about collateral damage?" "There are still civilians in the system. We'll do our best to avoid hitting civilian targets," Blake replied. "But our first priority is stopping the hunters. Dead civilians can't be saved, but living civilians can be evacuated after we clear out the threat." Dr. Kexelia, who was monitoring the conversation from her station, whispered to Veltar, "They speak of death so casually. How can they be so calm about destroying other beings?" Veltar's crystal form pulsed slowly, because they have been doing it for thousands of years. Every predator on their world tried to kill them. Every natural disaster tested their survival skills. They learned that hesitation means death. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Nexus system. The scene was chaos. Void Hunter ships swarmed around the main planet like angry insects. Several civilian transports were already burning in space. The local alien defense fleet was retreating toward the outer planets. All ships, Blake announced over the fleet communication system, weapons free. Show them what happens when you threaten innocent people. The human fleet spread out into attack formation and charged toward the Hunter ships. Unlike the aliens, who moved cautiously and tried to coordinate complex battle plans, the humans simply picked targets and started shooting. Captain Foster's ship fired first. His railgun sent a slug of metal traveling at incredible speed directly through a Hunter mother ship. The ship exploded in a ball of flame and debris. Two smaller Hunter units were caught in the explosion and destroyed as well. Direct hit on Target 1, Foster reported with satisfaction. Moving to engage Target 2. Across the battlefield, human ships demonstrated their unique approach to space combat. When Captain Parker's ship lost its main engines to Hunter fire, she did not retreat. Instead, she ordered her crew to ram the nearest Hunter vessel while firing all weapons. "If we're going down," Parker announced to her crew, "we're taking them with us." The collision destroyed both ships, but the explosion damaged 3 other Hunter vessels, enough that they could not fight effectively. Dr. Carter, watching the battle from the Vengeance, shook her head in amazement. No alien species has ever used kamikaze tactics in space combat. They consider it wasteful and barbaric. But it works, Rodriguez pointed out as he watched the Hunter formation begin to collapse under the human assault. The Hunters expect their enemies to value self-preservation above victory. They don't know how to handle opponents who are willing to die to win. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Nexus system was clear of Hunter ships. The human fleet had lost 8 vessels and nearly 3,000 crew members, but they had destroyed over 60 Hunter ships and saved 2 million alien civilians as the surviving ships regrouped and began rescue operations. Veltar approached Admiral Blake. "I understand now why the Council was afraid to contact your species," he said quietly. "Because we're violent?" Blake asked. "Because you're effective," Veltar replied. "In 6 months, you have accomplished what we could not do in 3,000 years. You have found a way to fight the Hunters and win." Blake looked out at the debris field where the battle had taken place. Each piece of wreckage represented lives lost, both human and Hunter. But the civilians were safe, and that was what mattered. "Galaxy is going to change," she told Veltar. "You can't go back to being purely peaceful after this war ends. There will always be threats out there." Veltar's crystal body pulsed with understanding, "and you will be there to face them." "Long as you need us," Blake confirmed, "because that's what allies do." The battle for Zentara Prime had been going on for 18 hours. General Matt Cooper crouched behind a broken crystal wall, listening to explosions echo through the alien city. Around him, human soldiers fought alongside desperate alien civilians against Void Hunter ground units that had broken through the planetary defenses. "Cooper, to all units," the general spoke into his radio. "Remember what we're fighting. These things don't feel pain, don't get scared, and never give up. The only way to stop them is to blow them apart completely. Keep moving and keep shooting." Private Amy Johnson pressed her back against a glowing crystal formation, breathing hard. Her plasma rifle was almost empty, and sweat dripped down her face despite the cool air of the alien world. Next to her, Ambassador Veltar huddled in terror. As Hunter drones swept through the area with deadly energy beams. "How can you stay so calm?" Veltar asked through his translator. His crystal body was cracked and dim with fear. "These creatures have destroyed entire worlds, their death itself walking among us." Johnson smiled as she checked her weapons. "Power level. Back home on Earth, we deal with death every day. We've got storms that can flatten whole cities in minutes. Earthquakes that split the ground open and swallow buildings. Diseases that kill millions before we can stop them. She popped up from cover and fired at a hunter drone that was advancing toward a group of alien children. Her shot punched through its energy shield and exploded its power core. The drone crashed to the ground in pieces. "Death doesn't scare us," Johnson continued, dropping back into cover. "We grew up with it. Every human learns to deal with danger from the day they're born." Across the battlefield, Sergeant Kevin Walsh was showing a group of alien soldiers how to fight dirty. The aliens had been trying to use their traditional energy weapons in precise, careful shots. Walsh had a different approach. "Forget everything you know about fair fighting," Walsh told them as he rigged explosive charges to a damaged hunter drone. "Fair fights are for sports. This is war, and in war, you use every advantage you can get." He pushed the modified drone toward a group of approaching hunters. When it got close enough, Walsh triggered the explosives. The blast destroyed 3 hunter units and damaged to others. "He turned their own weapon against them," said Dr. Kexalia, who had been watching from behind a barricade. Her flower petals were singed from the heat of battle. "That's what humans do," Walsh replied, already working on another improvised weapon. "We adapt. We use whatever works. If the enemy has better equipment, we steal it. If they're stronger, we get smarter. If they're smarter, we get meaner." The alien soldiers stared at him with a mixture of admiration and horror. In their cultures, warfare had rules and honor codes. Humans seemed to have no such limitations, high above the planet. The space battle was just as intense. Captain Laura Smith stood on the bridge of the destroyer Relentless, watching as her ship traded fire with a massive hunter mothership. Her vessel was smaller and weaker, but Smith had no intention of retreating. "Captain, we've lost main engines," her engineering officer reported. "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 7. We're drifting toward the enemy ship." Smith looked at the tactical display. Her ship was badly damaged and would probably be destroyed in the next few minutes. She could see something the hunters couldn't. She positioned her ship correctly. She could take several enemy vessels with her. "All hands abandon ship," Smith ordered calmly. "Set the reactor to overload. Full power to forward shields." Her crew looked at her in shock. "Captain, that will destroy us too," the weapons officer said. "That's the point," Smith replied. "It's better to die fighting than to die running." The crew quickly moved to the escape pods while Smith stayed at her post. She watched the hunter ships closing in, thinking they had an easy target. They had no idea what humans were capable of when cornered. The Relentless exploded like a miniature star. The nuclear blast vaporized the nearest hunter ship and severely damaged 4 others. The explosion created a chain reaction that spread through the hunter formation, destroying vessels that had seemed unbeatable just moments before. Dr. Kexalia, monitoring the space battle from the planet's surface, watched the explosion with growing unease. "They destroyed their own ship," she whispered to Mordic, the energy being who was coordinating the defense effort. "They fight like the hunters themselves." Mordic pulsed with concern. Without mercy, without hesitation, without any thought of surrender or retreat. "Yes," Dr. Kexalia replied quietly. "And that is exactly why they are winning." The difference between human and alien approaches to warfare was becoming clear to everyone involved. When alien ships were damaged, they retreated to repair and regroup. When human ships were damaged, they looked for ways to cause maximum destruction. Before they died, back on the ground, General Cooper was leading a desperate assault on a hunter command center. The building was heavily defended, and conventional attacks had failed. But Cooper had an idea that no alien military commander would ever consider. "We're going to bring the whole building down," he told his team. "Engineering has identified the support structures. If we place charges at the right points, we can collapse it completely." Lieutenant Brian Foster, who had volunteered for the mission, looked worried. "Sir, there are still civilians trapped inside. If we bring down the building, they'll be killed along with the hunters." Cooper's face was grim. "I know. But if we don't stop that command center, the hunters will overrun the entire city. Sometimes you have to choose between bad options and worse options." It was a decision that summarized the human approach to warfare. Aliens tried to find solutions that saved everyone. Humans accepted that war required terrible choices and made them anyway. The assault team moved through the building, fighting hunter drones in corridors filled with broken crystal and alien technology. Foster carried the demolition charges while Johnson and Walsh cleared the path ahead. Charges set, Foster reported when they reached the building's foundation. Timer is active. We have 5 minutes to get out. But as they tried to leave, they found their exit blocked by a massive hunter war machine. The thing was twice the size of a human and covered in weapons. Its red eyes glowed as it scanned for targets. Go, Walsh told the others. I'll hold it. Off, Kevin. Don't be stupid, Johnson said. We can find another way out. Walsh shook his head. No time. Get those people to safety. That's an order. He charged at the hunter machine with nothing but his rifle and a handful of grenades. The aliens watching from hidden positions could not understand his actions. Why would someone sacrifice themselves for strangers? But humans understood. On Earth, people died for their families, their countries, their beliefs. They died to protect others, to preserve freedom, to defend what they cared about. It was not logical or efficient. It was simply human. Walsh's sacrifice gave the others time to escape and guide the surviving civilians to safety. When the building collapsed, it took out the Hunter Command Center and disrupted their entire operation on that part of the planet. As the battle continued, more examples of human tactics shocked and impressed their alien allies. Human medics ran into active combat zones to save wounded soldiers, ignoring their own safety. Human engineers jury-rigged weapons from broken alien technology. Human pilots flew damaged ships on suicide missions to protect evacuation transports. Ambassador Zentara, watching human soldiers fight to defend his people, began to understand something important. They are not fighting for conquest or glory, he told Dr. Kexalaya. They are fighting to protect others. But they are so violent, Dr. Kexalaya replied, so willing to destroy and kill. Because that is what protection sometimes requires, Zentara said. We have spent so long avoiding violence that we forgot why violence sometimes necessary. They remembered. By the end of the battle, Zentara Prime was saved. The Hunter ground forces were destroyed, and their ships were retreating from the system. But the cost had been high. Thousands of humans had died, along with countless aliens. General Cooper stood in the ruins of the Crystal City, surrounded by the debris of war. Alien survivors approached him cautiously, unsure how to thank the strange warriors who had saved them. Why did you do this? Asked a young alien child, her flower-like face dirty with soot. Why did you fight for us when we are not even your people? Cooper knelt down to her level, because that's what you do when someone needs help. You help them, even if it's dangerous, especially if it's dangerous. The child looked at him with wide eyes. Are all humans like you? Cooper smiled sadly. We're all different. But when something threatens innocent people, we all become the same thing. We become protectors. As news of the victory spread throughout the galaxy, alien species began to understand what they had unleashed. Humans were indeed monsters from a death world. But they were monsters who chose to protect rather than destroy, to save rather than conquer. The galaxy would never be the same. But perhaps for the first time in thousands of years, it might finally be safe. 6 months after the final battle at Zentara Prime, the last Void Hunter mothership had been destroyed. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of his ship, watching as human patrol vessels returned from the galactic rim, chased the remaining hunters beyond the edge of known space, and made sure none survived to threaten the galaxy again. The war was over. Humanity had won. But victory had brought new problems that nobody had expected. Ambassador Rachel Green walked through the rebuilt council chambers on Zentara Prime. The crystal walls had been repaired, but scorch marks from the battle still showed in some places. Today, she would present humanity's proposal for the future of galactic civilization. Behind her walked Colonel Tony Martinez, his face marked with scars from the war. His left arm had been replaced with alien technology after he lost it in the SCL final assault on a Hunter command ship. He represented everything the aliens found, both admirable and frightening about humans. The 7 alien species sat around the council table, but their attitudes had changed completely since the first desperate meeting 2 years ago. Then they had been terrified and hopeless. Now they were nervous for different reasons. Human proposal is unlike anything in galactic history, Ambassador Veltar said. His crystal body flickered with uncertainty. You want to change how the entire galaxy is governed? Green nodded calmly. The old system failed. You spent 3,000 years building a peaceful civilization, and it nearly got everyone killed. The Void Hunters weren't the only threat out there. She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy beyond their borders. Red dots marked hostile forces that human scouts had discovered during their pursuit of the Hunters. How deep? Space reconnaissance found at least 3 other dangerous species in the outer darkness, Green continued. There are machine intelligences that consume entire star systems for raw materials, energy beings that feed on solar radiation, parasitic life forms that take over other species. High Chancellor Mordic pulsed with alarm. How many threats are there? We don't know, Colonel Martinez replied. But we know they're out there, and eventually they'll find this galaxy. When they do, you need to be ready. Dr. Kexalia's petals rustled nervously. But your proposal would change everything we are. You want us to build weapons, train soldiers, prepare for constant war? No, Green said firmly. We want you to stay exactly as you are. Keep building your beautiful cities. Keep creating art. In music and literature, keep being peaceful and kind and everything that makes your civilizations worth protecting. Then what are you asking? Zorthot clicked his mandibles together. Martinez stepped forward. We're asking to be your guardians. Let humans handle the military threats while you focus on what you do best. The proposal was radical. Humanity would establish the Terran Defense Authority, a military organization with complete control over galactic defense. They would build bases throughout the galaxy, train human soldiers, and maintain fleets of warships. The alien species would keep control of their own planets, governments, and civilian affairs. What you're describing sounds like protection money, said Ambassador Lyra from the Gas Cloud people. Her misty form swirled with suspicion. Pay us, or we'll let bad things happen to you. Green shook her head. Not protection money. Partnership. You provide us with resources, technology, and support. We provide you with security against external threats. And what happens when you decide we're the threat? Asked General Deckmer from the Stone People. What stops humans from becoming conquerors instead of protectors? It was the question everyone had been thinking. Humans were incredibly dangerous. They had proven they could destroy any enemy they faced. What would prevent them from turning those weapons against their former allies? Martinez's expression grew serious. Because we're not conquerors, we're survivors. And survivors understand something important about protection. What's that? Veltar asked. The best way to protect yourself is to protect everyone around you, Martinez replied. If our allies are safe and happy, then we're safe and happy. If our allies are threatened, then we're all in danger. Green pulled up another display, showing human military doctrine. Earth spent thousands of years learning this lesson the hard way. Countries that tried to conquer their neighbors always ended up destroying themselves. The only sustainable approach is mutual defense. Dr. Kexalea looked at the data. But humans fight so much among yourselves. How can we trust you to protect us when you can't even achieve peace on your own world? Because we learned from our mistakes, Green answered. Earth finally achieved global unity when we realized we face threats from space. Nothing brings people together like a common enemy. The aliens spent hours debating the proposal. Some species worried about giving humans too much power. Others feared what would happen if they refused and future threats arrived. Finally, Veltar spoke for the group. If we agree to this arrangement, what guarantees do we have? How do we know humans won't abuse their authority? Colonel Martinez stood up slowly. His artificial arm made small mechanical sounds as he moved. You want guarantees? Here's your guarantee. Every human who died in this war died protecting aliens they had never met before. We didn't fight for conquest or glory or resources. We fought because it was the right thing to do. He gestured to his scars and missing arm. I didn't lose this, fighting for human territory. I lost it saving a crystalline nursery ship full of children. Captain Smith didn't blow up her ship for human glory. She did it to protect alien civilians she couldn't even communicate with. Green added quietly, "Humans have a saying. With great power comes great responsibility. We have the power to destroy, but we choose to use that power to protect instead."
Ow.
Vote was close, but the aliens eventually agreed to humanity's proposal. The Terran Defense Authority was established with bases throughout the galaxy. Human patrol fleets began regular sweeps of the outer regions. Military academies were built to train new generations of human soldiers. But the most important change was cultural. The galaxy now had protectors who understood that sometimes violence was necessary to preserve peace. 3 years later, the new system faced its first test. Long-range sensors detected a massive fleet approaching from outside the galaxy. The ships were unlike anything in the database's sleek. Predatory vessels that moved with obvious hostile intent. Admiral Susan Blake, now commanding the Terran Defense Authority, received the alert at her headquarters on the fortress world of New Gibraltar. She studied the sensor readings with her staff. Analysis shows approximately 200 ships, reported her intelligence officer. Technology. Level appears equivalent to our own. Estimated arrival time at outer colonies is 6 months. Blake nodded grimly. Signal all human fleets to converge on the approach vector. Send word to the alien governments that we have a new threat. But this time, the response was different. Instead of panic and desperation, the aliens sent messages of support and confidence. They had guardians now. They were not facing this threat alone. Captain Morrison,
Now commanding
the heavy cruiser defender, received his orders with satisfaction. All hands, prepare for combat operations. We have new customers who need to learn about galactic hospitality. The approaching alien fleet soon discovered what the Void Hunters had learned. The galaxy was no longer defenseless. Humanity stood. Watch at its borders, ready to face any threat that emerged from the cosmic dark. When the battle was over and the invaders had been destroyed or driven away, the alien species sent messages of gratitude to their human protectors. But Blake and her officers took no special pride in the victory. They were simply doing their job. Think the galaxy will stay peaceful now? Morrison asked Blake as they watched the debris of the enemy fleet drift away into space. Blake smiled. Blake smiled. Probably not. There's always something out there looking for easy targets. But they'll find out the same thing everyone else learns eventually. What's that? The galaxy isn't easy prey anymore. It has humans watching over it. As the human fleets returned to their patrol routes and the aliens went back to building their peaceful civilizations, the galaxy settled into its new normal, and music flourished under the protection of warriors. Science and philosophy advanced. While soldiers stood guard at the borders, the aliens had called for help and received monsters from a death world. But those monsters had chosen to be heroes instead, and that choice had changed everything. The galaxy was finally safe, not because there were no more threats, but because it had found the right protectors to face them.